really think we need to think about this seriously because, much like Harry's got me obsessed with this article, you're an economist now. It's got random not paying attention to. Just makes a case of how much money you make is a huge determinant of a 23-year difference in life expectancy from top to bottom. But in the same sense, whether your disease is up with an effective treatment may be dependent on how well organized your advocacy is. And for a public health agency, what is our responsibility to look after the areas that don't have great advocacy? And as a university, what can you do to give everybody a fair shake, which I think is a mandate? So, Rob, I'm going to give you a chance to make any final comments to the crowd, and then we'll bring it to a close. Well, you got pretty fired up. I mean, I may not be at the FDA after January 20th, but I sure feel like I've learned a lot. Had a chance to see things that are hard to see from any other person. I would just say that this is a pretty amazing time in a society where the key to unlocking things gets in the hands of young people who are facile with dealing with information. And it's a great imperative that you think about access and societal equality. And I'll sort of make you close with two experiences. One from a visit here a few years ago, where your guys in your department asked when you were starting to make points needed here in one of the wealthiest places in the world. You have like 25% of kids who come to school and don't have shoes. And, there's got to be a better way to deal with that than we're doing in the United States today. I'm not telling you I know what it is, but things are on people's minds every day because I do think that unless we solve some of the inequalities as they're getting wider and wider with these huge effects on how long you live, and if you look at opioid overdose as another example, I spent a lot of time in Appalachian the past few years because of it. It's dispersed across society, but it's clear to see where the big problems are in our society. We've got to deal with it. But the technology is so clear that this may not seem related at all, but it was fascinating to me. I was meeting with our contracts group at the NTA. Contracts groups are not loved at the university, not loved anywhere, right? But, contracts groups have a vital function. They sure do at the NTA because we need to work with people outside. We have to have a contract. That's legal basis. And I was asking, what can we do to help you? And I said, you got to get going. Technology is a key and it can be used for either really good purposes or it can be devastating and bad if it's only used to exacerbate the inequalities. So you're in the right place to make a big difference in that. So I hope some of you will come to work at the NTA and help us with it. So thank you for fully standardized your last stop on the College Board on behalf of Stanford Medicine. Thank you to the NCF for the preceding program is copyrighted by the Board of Trustees of the Leland Stanford Junior University. Please visit us at med.stanford.edu. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. It's so wonderful to see you all here for this homecoming, really, for Dr. Hannah Valentine and to bring together our community. Such a joyous occasion. Her son at night, listening to his labor breaths, fearing that they might sometimes stop. As a single mother of an asthmatic son in Memphis, Tennessee, Ilyasha struggled to make ends meet so that her son could get the treatments that he needed. Medications, allergy shots, a nebulizer that pumped vaporized medicine into his lungs. But none of these treatments worked for her son. And the reason may be that they were tailored to people of a different race. See, Ilyasha and her son are African American, but the majority of studies conducted about asthma, and indeed of most other health conditions, involve patients of European descent. Case in point, a recent article co-authored by Professors Carlos Bustamante and Francisco de la Vega found that 96% of subjects in genome-wide association studies are people of European descent. I read about Ilyasha and her son in an article in The Atlantic this past summer, and their story underlies what I feel deeply about diversity and inclusion, and what I have felt deeply about diversity and inclusion over my career. I know that working through these issues together can be complicated, emotional, and deeply personal, but I consider it our duty to create more diverse and inclusive workspaces. That article also speaks directly to the work of our guest speaker today, longtime Stanford faculty member Dr. Hannah Valentine, who also is NIH's first Chief Officer for Scientific Workforce Diversity. In her role at the NIH, Dr. Valentine recruits more diverse researchers, leading to research that fully reflects the demographics of our society. One of the things that's so special about Dr. Valentine, and the reason I think she's the perfect person to speak to us about these issues, is that through her skills, experience, and her position, she has a compassionate view of the state of diversity and inclusion in medicine, both across the nation and right here at Stanford. As a friend and advisor of mine, I also trust that she will give us her candid perspective on where we are today as a community and how we can continue to move forward. With an extraordinary background as a physician scientist, Dr. Valentine has the intellect as well as the heart to bring transformative approaches to diversity in medicine. She's a senior investigator in the intramural program at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, and when she was full-time here at Stanford, she was senior associate dean for diversity and leadership in the School of Medicine for nearly a decade. She currently maintains an active clinical research program, building on her findings that monitoring the level of donor DNA in a recipient's blood can detect early stages of organ rejection. She and I share the same attitude about diversity and inclusion. To both of us, diversity and inclusion are the only ways that we as medical professionals can make good on our commitments and the Hippocratic Oath to provide comprehensive care for all people. Maintaining a laser focus on diversity and inclusion makes our society more socially just. As physicians responsible for the physical and psychological healing of the world's communities, we must commit ourselves to improving the broader social, economic, and environmental conditions that can be so severe burdens for patients from all walks of life. Moreover, a lack of diversity and inclusion impacts the clarity and accuracy of our data, as Dr. Valentine has shown in so many of her pivotal studies. For instance, if we don't gather a diverse set of data from ethnicities and lifestyles around the world, we can't recommend personalized, proactive, and preventive treatments. Without diversity, we can't fulfill our promise to precision health. Ultimately, if we're narrow-minded and waver in our commitment to diversity and inclusion, patients like Ilyasha's son will be at greater risk, and they will continue to suffer. I'm so encouraged by people like Dr. Valentine, who recently received the NIH Director's Pathfinder Award for Diversity in the Scientific Workforce. In a paper that Dr. Valentine co-authored with NIH Director Francis Collins in 2015, she and Dr. Collins described diversity as a scientific opportunity rather than as an intractable problem. They called it a research challenge that can be approached with a scientific method and ultimately that can be resolved. For all those reasons and so many more that you'll hear today, please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Hannah Valentine. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Lloyd. In fact, you covered my whole talk, and I'm not sure that I have much more to say, but I'll try at any rate. I must say it's such a pleasure to be back. It feels like coming home to friends. In fact, I see people with whom I worked in the very early days when I first came to Stanford in the early 80s, still here and still doing this wonderful work. And so I'm delighted. I'm also delighted to be joining my family here as well. So this is a really, really special occasion, Lloyd, and thank you very much for the invitation, which I really, really appreciate. I'm going to be speaking with you about our approach to addressing scientific workforce diversity through the lens of science. And what I'll be talking about is that the time is now right for us to be injecting the same rigor as we do to the rest of our scientific work into this complex area of workforce diversity. I'll start off by making the point of why diversity is important. You've heard already some very important reasons from Dean Miner. And then I'll talk a little bit about those four cross-cutting challenges that Francis Collins and myself identified that we fully believe that if we were successful, we would really be reaching really high levels of diversity and inclusion in our scientific workforce. And then I'll talk a little bit about building evidence and what we can look forward to and how we can sustain this workforce diversity so as to reap the wonderful opportunities that are embedded when we have diversity and inclusion. But before I start, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in the Gambia, South Africa, a country which had a population of about half a million when I left there with my family in 1964, age 13, to go to London. And of course, when I got to London, it was in the 60s, the height of racial tension. And what my parents had not prepared me for was the idea that somebody might think less of me, because after all, I had grown up as a part of a minority group. So as you can imagine, entering high school had its challenges. And I would admit that I did struggle somewhat in those early days as a high schooler. And in part, I would say it was trying to bridge this cultural gap. But of course, the reality was that also the excitement of living in the swinging 60s in London. And so I would say that it was a combination of reasons rather than a lack of diversity and inclusion. That said, I managed to get really good mentors and went into a degree program at the London University in biochemistry, convinced that I was going to do science later. But then I started to learn about metabolic pathways. I started to learn about cholesterol metabolism. I started to learn about its link to heart disease. And before I knew what I was doing, I was lured away into becoming a physician. But I still had that hankering for science behind me. And so when I completed my residency and training in cardiology as a clinical cardiologist, yes. Okay. Awesome show. Okay. Okay. That's very good. So, as I was saying, I went to London and then to Stanford for what was supposed to be just 2 years, otherwise known as going to get my BTA, which was Being to America, which was something that was regarded as a must do as a cardiologist at that time. And unfortunately, 2 years actually turned into 30. And then I was minding my own business when I got a call inviting me to lead the NIH Diversity Efforts as the first chief officer of scientific workforce diversity. And this was in the wake of the Gimper Report, which was published in 2011, demonstrating that African Americans applying for R01 grants were significantly less likely than any other group to receive that award. And the advisory committee to the director made 13 recommendations, one of which was to establish this office that would be responsible for coordination of NIH diversity efforts. But they also recommended that this person should have a dual role and should have an active role as a scientist, physician scientist himself. And it was clear that this would be something very exciting for me, and that is why, as Dean Miner mentioned, I run a laboratory there. And although this is not the purpose of this talk, I just thought I'd first give you some glimpses of the kind of things we're doing. I have set up a collaboration here with Steve Wake, who many of you know, and it was a most fruitful collaboration where we're now using genomic tools to monitor patients after organ transplantation based on the fact that the DNA that comes out of the transplanted graft is uniquely different from that of the recipient, including a blood test to get the percentage of the donor-derived DNA, and the organ begins to be injured and very early on. And so then what I've done is I've set up a consortium of 5 centers, Hopkins, Maryland, VCU, Iowa Fairfax, and Washington Hospital, who are all recruiting patients and establishing the biobank. We've transferred the technology, and it's working very well in collaboration with my colleague here, Karen Kush. We've looked at samples, and we've been very successful in doing that. But we're taking the work further. We're looking at different DNA methylation patterns that will help us understand what organ the source of that DNA is coming from. We're also looking at mitochondrial DNA because it's a unique method of transmission being translated through females through the cycle. And we've already recruited and enrolled many patients, over 100. We collected over 6,000 biospecimens, and I thought I was never going to have to write a grant any longer. But yes, in the last 3 years, I wrote a DO1 application with my colleagues at Hopkins. So let's turn to diversity. And here's the issue. What you can see here is the diversity across the biomedical career path. And what you'll see is that as you move along the career path, you get less and less representation. So if you look, for example, at women underrepresented in blue, and you follow them on, you see a minuscule representation at the full professor level. And the same is true for underrepresented men, shown in gray. So that's part of the issue that we want to be addressing and making inroads in. And I'm sure many of you will have heard that this is a pipeline problem. All we have to do is fill up the pipeline, and in time, things will happen, and everything will be corrected. Well, we know that isn't true when we look at what has happened in the case of women. What I'm showing you here is the representation of women in medical schools, medical graduates, approximately 50% for 10 years now, and in the biological sciences PhD, has been more than 50% for 15 years, and yet, when we look, what do we see? As we go up the career path, we have fewer and fewer women, and while I was here, I did a study which was ultimately published in Academic Medicine, where we estimated that it would actually take 50 years to get equity at the rank of full professor level. Well, I don't know about any of you, but I know I don't have 50 years to wait, so we have to do something. So why is diversity important? Here are 4 reasons, and there are many others. I believe that diversity is important for excellence of the science in and of itself, and I'll show you some evidence around that. I believe that it will broaden the scope of the inquiry. We have diverse fields of investigators who will bring diverse perspectives to the field, and it's important for even addressing the issue of health disparities, as Dr. Dean Miner actually alluded to already. And if you don't buy into any of that at all, the stark reality is that the demographic of this nation is changing and has changed rapidly. So that people like myself, given a talk like this 10 years ago, would say, well, by 2020, the minority group will be the majority group. Well, it's actually happened. It's actually happened in certain states, and it's actually happened in certain age groups already. So if that is the case, how on earth can we be sure that we really are recruiting the most talented scientists if we're not pulling from our entire intellectual capital? And I would argue that we can't. And for that reason, including many, we must be pulling and ensuring that we have a diverse scientific workforce. And here is the paper published in PNS that Dean Miner alluded to earlier on, which was co-authored by myself and Francis Collins, where we took a look at all of what was going on and concluded that, in fact, we could view this work as an opportunity to recruit and retain writers and best, but we must be attentive to 4 particular areas. And it's these 4 areas that I will talk about in a moment. The first is the science of diversity. What really is the impact of having a diverse scientific workforce on the quality of the outputs of science? And I asked that question because I think it's very important. But in fact, when we wrote this article, we got some pushback saying, well, of course, you haven't proven that it is beneficial for the majority group that is there already. You haven't shown that the link between the quality of science and that. So why on earth do you want to do this diversity? And I do think it's important for many reasons which I'll come to. We also talked about identifying the social and psychological and cultural factors that we believe play into the climate of inclusion. And I'll show you some work around that. We also want to inject the scientific rigor into the field of workforce diversity in the same way as we do the rest of our science. In the same way as Francis was able to push forward the human genome work with the rigor and collaboration and evidence and data, we need that here. And more than anything, we need to look at what we have, what's working, and determine how to scale them. So we know that one particular hurdle is the issue of unconscious bias. And I'm sure many of you hear a lot about this. This is something that is talked about very widely. And in fact, it was brought to our attention considerably over 12 years ago by the economist Scott Page in this book that he wrote, where he had done some pivotal research to indicate that better problem-solving results from a larger, what he called informational cognitive state. And he argued that diversity outperforms ability every time, and he was able to conduct these experiments where he created hypothetical scenarios designed to reflect the individual's problem-solving capacities. And then he put people into groups randomly selected, and each time the diverse or the heterogeneous group was better able to solve a problem than any other homogeneous group, concluding that groups of diverse problem solvers outperform groups of high ability solving people. Now, I'm going to show you some work that has come from other fields, because much of this evidence on unconscious bias and science and diversity comes from other fields, but we're beginning to get a glimmer from science itself. And here is one experimental study that is around the diversity and financial decision makers. And what these investigators did was create ethnically homogeneous groups or ethnically heterogeneous groups of skilled financial participants and stock trading, and have them do some stock trading simulations. And what they found was that the experimental in the homogeneous group, they were less able to accurately predict the stock and more likely to accept inflated prices and crash much more when that happened. And so that again points to the fact that diversity in teams leads to better decisions. Here's another example, another experimental study, which is around diversity in jury decisions. And in this particular study, you have a racially homogeneous group of jurors compared to a racially heterogeneous group. And what was found was that, and all through this, the all white or homogeneous groups, the deliberations in this were shorter, they cited fewer facts, they had greater factual inaccuracies, and less likely to correct these inaccuracies. And the investigators concluded that this was Good afternoon, and welcome to the Dean's Lecture Series. It's a real privilege and honor to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Marcia McNutt. As I think you all know, Dr. McNutt is the editor-in-chief of the Science family of journals, and on July 1st, Marcia will become the president of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences. Many of you in this room are members of or affiliated with the National Academy of Sciences, and you know that the Academy plays such an important role in promoting outstanding science and providing science-based advice to government officials and policymakers. Previously, Marcia served as head of the U.S. Geological Survey, where she played a pivotal role in the government's response to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Before that, she was president and chief executive officer of the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute and a professor of geophysics here at Stanford. I had the privilege of getting to know Marcia this past summer when we were giving some lectures together in China. We wound up having an unexpected 6-hour bus ride across the inland of China when our flight from one city got canceled due to the typhoon, and we were rerouted to a remote city and wound up going through the inland of China, literally in a marginally air-conditioned class. And so I know that Marcia maintains good humor even under stressful conditions. And Marcia, we are so honored that you're sharing some time with us here today. We look forward to your talk. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Dean Reiner, for inviting me to come and speak to you all here today. This is truly an honor to be speaking to such a distinguished group of students, researchers, faculty, and I thought for a while what to talk about. And I realized that much of what I learned about leadership was forged in the crucible of crisis, and that perhaps how I could best impart my knowledge to you was by relating some of those stories. And so I picked through the experience I had and chose 3 examples. And they're 3 very different examples, so hoping that you'll all be able to relate to at least one of them. And one of them is a financial crisis, and we all run into financial crises. One was a crisis that involves actual disasters, and the third is a crisis of confidence. And so as I say, all of these were different types of disasters, and all of them required that I call upon different skills and different experiences to solve. So let me go through my 3 examples. And so here's lesson number 1, and I entitled it Avoiding a Budgetary Freefall. And this example is taken from my very first leadership experience, and it's when I was director of the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, which is just down the road from Stanford here, on the shores of Monterey Bay. And Emory, as it is more familiar to most people, is a research institution to the very famous Monterey Bay Aquarium. And it was founded by David Packard to be sort of NASA for the oceans. At the time that I was asked to lead the institute, it had just gone through an institute building phase, where the previous directors of the organization had been charged with basically building the institute, quite literally, building its bricks and mortar, building its research vessel, and so their focus had been primarily on creating the infrastructure that would allow the place to succeed. And at the time that I arrived, my job was then to deliver on the promise of the institute by, and they also had to hire staff. And my job was to deliver on the promise of the institute by taking the staff, the building, the ship, and to produce great research discoveries with all of that. So it sounded to me like I was going to have a pretty easy job, because the institute had funding that came from the Packard Foundation, it had a great staff, it had a great facility, and so it looked like it was going to be pretty easy. But here's what happened. Here's what the S&P 500 looked like. And I arrived just as the stock market was climbing, and of course the Packard Foundation's funding entirely came from return on their stock portfolio. And as I arrived, it started taking a free fall. And then September 11th hit, and it took an even greater dive. And so basically, I was facing a financial crisis, where the portfolio of the Packard Foundation, there was a 50% drop in the S&P 500 during that period. When you think you've got an institution that's funding entirely comes from one source, the Packard Foundation, and they look at the return on their portfolio taking a 50% drop, they have to think, how much can we support this institution at the same rate that we have when we've got this kind of financial crisis that the Foundation's dealing with? So this was quite a crisis that I had to deal with as the leader of this institution. So my approach to this crisis was as follows. First of all, I decided to involve the entire staff in the planning for how we were going to approach this fiscal budgetary crisis. And so we brought together the staff in meetings for planning together how we were going to deal with the budget crisis. And we came up with this following approach. First of all, we would begin with David Packard's original mission statement for the Institute. And David Packard had only a few things that he had left in writing when he passed away. But a few things that he had said were, first of all, that the Institute should be a partnership between scientists and engineers, that we should send instruments into the deep sea, not people, that we should send data back, not samples, and that we should take risks. Okay, and so we started with that. Whatever we would do, we would stay true to Packard's vision for the Institute. And we asked the staff to write a new strategic plan targeted to the Packard Foundation's priorities. Now, the Packard Foundation was run by a board of trustees, and that board of trustees had slightly different priorities than what were the original priorities of David Packard. David Packard was a techie. He loved technology. But the new trustees at the foundation were conservationists. So we recognized that we had to evolve and we had to appeal to what were the priorities of the new trustees. And so we wrote a new strategic plan that recognized that there were things like ocean-land interactions, ocean acidification, climate change, ocean diversity, that were important things to the new trustees. And those had to be highlighted in our strategic plan. We involved all of the staff in cutting the non-mission essential elements from the budget. And that had a secondary benefit of giving the staff transparency into the budget. And it was amazing in this process how much I learned about the fact that the staff really didn't understand the relative contribution to the budget of various elements of what we were spending our money on. For example, some members of the staff argue for hours about our coffee budget. I mean, for example, like how much money we were spending on different varieties of tea versus the coffee, until I finally showed them the budget, and they realized that we could do whatever we wanted about the coffee and tea budget, and it was going to matter not an iota in terms of the viability of the organization. And it wasn't until they understood that they really got down to brass tacks and started spending their time on what really mattered in the budget. And this was very important for the staff to understand. And then finally, the most important thing we did was we put into place some safeguards to maintain the emphasis on high-risk research. Because almost every institution I knew of, once the budget gets tight, the research becomes very conservative. And it is very hard to protect the high-risk research because everyone wants to instead fund what are the sure bets. And so we had to bend over backwards to make sure we made it clear that no, we were going to cut out the sure bets because we knew that the sure bets would be funded by the federal government. And instead, we were the only place where we could protect the high-risk research. And so as an example, one of our scientists was working in, most of our researchers were working in Monterey Canyon, but one of our researchers was working on the events in Monterey Canyon, near the canyon floor, geologic events that were transporting material from the land to the sea, using the canyon as a superhighway through events that we didn't know how often they happened, that were sort of sedimentary events that would transport material from the canyon head up near Moss Landing down to the deep sea. And we felt that these were events that transported pollutants, that transported sand, materials, biological materials, DDT, things like that, from the land to the sea. And we didn't know that these happened every day. Did they only happen when the Salinas River was flowing, which was only during the wet season? Or did they only happen very rarely, say, during like the 97-98 El Nino, when there were truly massive amounts of water flowing down the Salinas River? And so one of our scientists came up with a very high-risk project to actually instrument the Monterey Canyon by putting in one of the meanders of the canyon some instruments to capture one of these events of sediment coming down the canyon. Because most of the time, when we would go out and put our remotely operated vehicles down there, the canyon was just this quiet, benign place. So we decided to put instruments down there in the same way that geophysicists put out seismometers to capture earthquakes when they occur. So we decided to put instruments down there to capture one of these events. So we thought, we'll go out and put these instruments down right before the wet season, in December, before the Salinas River starts flowing. And then we'll go out in the spring, and hopefully these instruments are robust enough to have captured one of these events. So there were enough of these instruments that the remotely operated vehicle went down in early December, 1 week, put them down, and then went out a week later to put the next set of instruments down. The first set of instruments was gone. They had swept down the canyon. The Salinas River wasn't even flowing. So this was an example of a high-risk experiment where we couldn't even find the instruments. They were destroyed. And in fact, it was several ROV dives later that we actually found them jumbled and destroyed, buried in sediment a mile down the canyon. So although the experiment had not worked, we learned a lot. We built more instruments, even more robust. They were destroyed too. But we kept working at it until we actually were able to capture one of these events in action and measure the currents, measure the debris flow, and understand what was going on. So basically, because of the way we approached this budget crisis, the Packard Foundation actually protected the MBARI budget. Our budget did go down, but instead of going down 50%, it went down about 15%. We didn't have to lay off any staff, and we didn't have to cut any of our high-priority projects. And instead, in the years after, we were able to do amazing things. We developed remotely operated autonomous underwater vehicles that had little chambers that in them that recorded data. And this particular vehicle went under the Arctic ice cap, and it recorded data under the Arctic. And the data was then released under thin ice, and these little chambers would send the data up. And as the these little things that were like bullets coming out of a revolver would go up to the surface, and when they would hit the bottom of the ice, a chemical reaction would take place in the nose of those little data recorders, and they would heat up, and they would melt through the ice, pop up a little antenna, and phone home to send us back the data, just in case the autonomous underwater vehicle was lost under the ice, because the valuable thing was not the vehicle, but the data that it had gotten under the ice. And then this was the early generation of the environmental sample processor that we sent under the Arctic to, not under the Arctic, but in the ocean, to determine what's blooming in the ocean based on its RNA. Again, David Packard's mantra, bring back data, not samples, so we could determine what's blooming based on its genetic code. So as I say, this was a crisis that we got through, and we got through by involving the staff. So leadership lesson number 1. When possible, involve those affected by a crisis in finding solutions. They are the ones that are motivated to help you solve the problem. And it helps with buy-in. If they've been part of this finding the solution, then they're the ones that are going to accept the solution. Okay, so let me go on to lesson number 2. This was from when I was at the USGS. And during the time that I was at the USGS, it was within about 2 months of me being installed as director of the USGS. I started to deal with a string of disasters. They included earthquakes in Haiti, Chile, China, and Japan, and amazingly, even Washington, D.C. A major volcanic eruption in Iceland, Superstorm Sandy, floods in the Midwest, and apocalyptic forest fires in the West. there were so many disasters that happened on my watch that my friends at NOAA called me the master of disasters. But none of these disasters consumed me to the degree that the Deepwater Horizon did. During that period, as Dean Miner mentioned, I was deployed by the Secretary of the Interior to head up a group of government scientists and engineers to help the BP engineers and scientists cap the well, collect the oil, and bring an end to the oil spill. Now, while I was in Houston, basically I had government scientists and industry scientists and engineers. It was a diverse group of people. All of them agreed that we needed to end the oil spill, but not everyone completely trusted each other. They all come from different backgrounds. They were all diverse in their thinking, and it was important that we all work together as a team. And so the difficulty was, how could I get this group of people to work together as a team, and how to use their diversity as a strength in order to solve this problem. And one thing that was actually helpful in this was, while I had been at Embari, we had actually done an exercise where we took everyone at the Institute, which was probably a group smaller than the number of people in this room, and we had done a exercise where everyone filled out a little personality survey. So all you did was answer some questions that were innocuous, and based on how you answered the survey, you were classified as one of four colors. And based on how you answered it, you were either predominantly a green, or a blue, or an orange, or a gold, based on your answers to these questions. And the interesting thing about how you were classified was based on what you valued in how you approached problems. And so these colors meant the following. If you were a green, it meant you most valued solving the right problem. If you were a gold, it meant you most valued solving the problem right. If you were an orange, it meant you most cared about getting the job done. And if you were blue, you most cared about making sure everyone was okay with it. And what was interesting about when everyone filled this out at Embari, predominantly people fell into different groups, different divisions at Embari, based on their color. So the scientists were all greens. They all cared about solving the right problem. And it was sort of like, I don't care about the budget. I don't care about the timeline. All I really care about is, are we solving the right problem? And the engineers were all gold. You know, what really matters is, are you doing it the right way? Do you have the right timeline? Are you using the right approach to the problem? Are you going to get it done on time? Are you worrying about safety? Are you minimizing risk? The engineers saw many solutions to the problem, but they wanted to find out which one do you want to minimize? Do you want to minimize cost? Do you want to minimize risk, etc.? And the people in marine operations were all about getting the job done. They really didn't care about whether they did it right. They would do it with taking time ramps if they could get the job done. And this is why I always had problems sometimes between the engineers and the marine operations people, because the marine operations people would come back from a cruise, and the engineers would say, what did you do to my device? You changed it. Did you document it? And the marine operations people would say, documentation? What do you mean? We got the job done. And then the people in education and communications would say, we want to make sure everyone's okay with this. Is everyone all right with this? And they would really care about buy-in. So I learned a lot from this when we did this exercise in Embari, and this really helped me down in Houston with the Deepwater Horizon.